Wow. Very spooky. Wow. So spooky. Much spooky. Are you guys excited? Well, don't be too excited. We're just reading scary stories. What you should be excited for is me being here. I thought about turning this into ASMR, but I was like, Guys, did you see my my new cover with Non? It'll be out in a week here. I'll link it. Boom, 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 boom. Boop. There you go. Also, if I don't respond, it's because I'm eating. I did have like a little bit to eat earlier, like a little small bowl of spaghetti. But Cixia, if you want, just because I love you so much, I will show you. I will show you the finished product early. You get special treatment. As being one of the cutest people ever.
3 spoopy 5 me.
Very spoopy. Welcome back, Ashton.
Still never been to the clouds.
You'll make out with me, but you'll do that anyways, babe.
I'm ready to feel true fear.
Oh. True fear would be me abandoning you, don't you think? It's still very possible. Guys, what if I just disappeared one day? What would you do? Platonically, non-parasocially. Okay, then platonically and non-parasocially, I will link this to you. Hold up. Is it still there? Give me a second. Bro, why's my stuff lagging? There you go. Okay. Here. Nobody else gets to see it. I don't know if that link still works, but... Sorry for not coming to your 6-month stream. Oh, wow. It was such an amazing stream and you missed it. I'm sorry you didn't come too, for your own sake. If you left, I'd commit MIDI. Yeah, but MIDI committed MIDI like 3 times over. 3 times over. If you guys have any suggested scary stories, feel free to send them. I prefer like the Reddit scary stories. Or like the what do you call it? The what is the word? The like the true stories, like their personal accounts of them. I don't care if they're a lie. I fall for them every time. That said, have you guys heard of the Ring doorbell stuff? And this is okay. So it's like a bunch of like Ring doorbell cams. No, not from the No Sleep. Just like people talking about their experiences. No Sleep, I think it's too fake. I want to get invested, you know? I want to let my... how naive I am do the work, you know? Oh, and make sure to submit your form. Here, let me see how many forms we have submitted. Maybe at 50 forms, I will do the longer ASMR. So right now we have 26. Let me link it. I don't know if I can love someone at all. I don't know if I even wanna fall. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so like there's this all these scary like Ring doorbell cams, right? And sometimes you get the story behind it, sometimes you don't. One time I saw like a kidnapping on a Ring doorbell and nobody knows what happened. Like there was like, or they just like heard screaming. Like the most terrifying screaming. Yeah, for the dating. Also, I haven't been super public about this, but my mod applications are out. So, you know, apply at your leisure. It's in Discord. Also in the membership post. But here. Let me link the form. I can't love someone at all. Yes, if I even wanna fall. Is my day spooky? Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. It's spooky for a lot of reasons. Unfortunately, but you know. How to use Discord? Okay, so there's a Discord link in the description, and you just join, get verified with the bot, and then you're Gucci. Longer. 3 hour. Hey, there you go. If your response is garbage, I'm not gonna count it. Let's see. Alright, let's get into the scary stories. Let's see what's here. I got some suggestions in Discord. Excuse me. Also, for those of you that were here for the watch along today, I'm sorry I forgot. I deadass forgot I had it because I've been like so out of it recently. I'm so sorry. Let's see. How long is this one? 30 minutes. Thank you, Tall Spartan, for giving the time estimation. Oh, this one. Oh, this one sounds really scary. Okay, let's look at this. That's true. Everyone has been so sick lately. Oh my gosh. Okay. How long is this one? Oh my god. It's so fucking long. Okay. Before I get into this, I need to eat my spaghetti. I'm honestly so insecure. I'm not even gonna do the forum. That's okay. You do what you're comfortable with. That said, for anybody that wants to do the forum, you do not have to submit a photo of yourself. You do not have to reveal your real name or anything like that. There are options for censorship if you do want to use photos. Right? And there are options for me to know information and like my mod team and staff, but not the stream, like not publicly available. It's just spaghetti and meatballs. Oh. I'm also eating French toast because that was there and I kind of got craving. And doobie halabi. The scary story we're going to start with is my wife has been peeking around, or peeking at me from around corners behind furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying. Dude, my balls would retreat into my body and go into hibernation. You think you still slept with her during that time? If your wife was peeking behind furniture, would you still fuck her? Oh, did you listen to it? It means so much that you like it. You're such a fantastic, like, singer and musician. Yeah. I've had elephant ears, Damien. They're really good. Have you guys had beaver tails? Do you know what beaver tails are? Hi, Indonesia man, what's up? Beaver tails are like, it's kind of like fried dough shaped in a beaver tail. It's like a Canadian, like, fair food, kind of. And it usually has like Nutella on it and like other toppings. They're really good. They're super addicting though. It's really good. Alright, let me find it. And once again, we are talking about food. This is seriously like my #1 talent. Unironically, I can make any conversation about food. It's genuinely impressive. Here. These are beaver tails. There you go. Hi, Venery, what's up? I'm more surprising on Americans. Sounds like something Americans would do. Yeah, except beavers. Are beavers our national animal? Oh my god, is this a thing? I don't know. Ugh. Hi! Wait, how do you... Is it Miri? Or do you just go by Sapphire? You know, VTubers have, like, ruined reading for me because I never know how people want their names read. It's confusing to me. Bro, this is pissing me off. because I have the shake thing on. But I'm looking forward to your debut. It hasn't happened yet, right? It's soon. It's in November, I think. Early November. Oh fuck, my spaghetti! Guys, I promise the atmosphere will be spooky after I'm done stuffing my face. It's Miri? Okay. Thank God. If I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. People still think I'm Rana Lana. The fuck? You motherfuckers can't read. It's Rana Ayana. Should I put syrup? Nah. Too many calories. I don't mind llamas, actually. It's Ayana. You can say Iana either, too. Oh my god. Don't start. Not llama. Canonically, if I was like any animal, I would be a cat or a dragon. Those fit my personality most. What's fucking hair in my food, bro? Oh, don't worry, Tellsburn. I'm just fucking with you. So many people have done it. It's not just you, don't worry about it. Literally, what do you mean you can't see me as a cat girl? It's on your screen right now. Alright. Are you ready? Where is it? Okay. How do you guys want me to read this? Do you want this to be really scary? Do you want me to really scare you right now, chat? I will do this. Are you ready? Do you want to be scared? Do you really, really want to be scared? I'm gonna graduate. Is that scary? Wow. Look, you did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. Wow. 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 Alright. I gotta keep you on your toes.
Thank you, my good sir.
I should have set up jump scare alerts for this. Scariest thing you could have possibly said. I know where to hit him where it hurts. Guys, that's why we're in a toxic relationship, right? I hurt you not because I love you, but because it's fun. And I have mild affection towards you. Very, very mild. Alright. My wife has been peeking at me from around corners and behind furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying. My wife Lynn and I have been together for 6 years and married for 11 months. Oh, and here's the, I'll link the thing. Let's see. Our entire history together has been very normal, and never once have I noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. I can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing is for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, thoughtful. She's always been the no-nonsense type of person. Being childish or trying to scare me is not something she'd normally do. Well, Lynn and I are very, very different people. If I would assume from this, you know? Let me move this down. The positioning's bothering me. She doesn't even like watching horror movies. When we first started dating, she agreed to watch The Shining with me because she knew how much I loved horror. She was so scared that she didn't even make it through half of the movie before we had to turn it off. She isn't into anything creepy and has never been into pranks. It's just not her cup of tea. But it's fine. But that's what was so strange about this. It's just so unlike her. I should also add that she's never had any mental health issues, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't run in her family. I know some people are able to hide their mental health problems, but in the 6 years we've been together, I think I'd have seen some sort of sign. 2 months ago, I was in the kitchen making myself some coffee before work. I was running a bit late that morning and knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts for my usual fix. I took a sip of my coffee as I hurried down the hall toward the front door, when I happened to notice Lynn peeking at me from around the corner ahead of me. I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long, dark hair hanging against the wall. The rest of her body was concealed behind the corner. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw her. I did burn the shit out of my lips. "Jeez, Lynn," I said, wiping a few drops of coffee from my pants. "You scared the shit out of me." She immediately popped out of view like a little kid that had been caught. I heard her scurry off towards the living room, and by the time I got to the front door, she was out of sight. It was really weird, and just totally out of character for her, like I said. And I also found it kind of funny that she was being more playful and a little less serious. I shouted that I loved her and called her a weirdo, as I shut the door behind me and I heard her laughing. Let me turn on my auto scroll for this. Oh, that's too fast. Let me set it to 1. Let's see. Her behavior was a bit odd, but it certainly wasn't something to call a priest over. I forgot about it by lunch and on the way, and by the time I got home, she was her normal self. I didn't bring it up, and neither did she, and life went on. The next incident happened 3 days later. It was around 3 a.m., and I had woken up to get a drink. I was standing in the kitchen at the kitchen island, a jug of OJ in hand, when I felt a strong feeling that I was being watched. For whatever reason, I looked down at the floor and saw my wife's smiling face staring back. She was peeking at me from the other side of the island, staring up at me with wide, unblinking eyes, and grinning. Grinning like the Cheshire Cat. I screamed, I'll admit it. Not out of irritation, but fear. For some reason, at that moment, I was scared. At the sound of my scream, Lynn scuttled backwards out of my view, her hands and feet smacking the tile floor as she hurried out the kitchen on all fours. I didn't run after her, or even yell after her. I just stood there frozen in shock, wondering what the fuck had possessed her to do that. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to go back upstairs. But eventually I did. When I got to our bedroom, Lynn was lying on her side, asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stood there for a while, watching her breathing to be sure she was really asleep. I had the feeling she might jump out at me the moment I got into bed, but she didn't. I climbed into bed and she didn't even move. Her breathing was soft and deep, and I was starting to wonder if I'd dreamt the whole thing. The next morning, I waited for her to come down for coffee, and after handing her a mug and kissing her cheek, I decided to ask her about it. "What was that about last night?" I asked, keeping my tone light so I didn't offend or embarrass her. She frowned over her cup of coffee, shaking her head like she had no clue what I was referring to. "You were peeking at me again, from over there," I said, pointing to the spot by the floor on the kitchen island. She followed my gaze, and when she looked back to me, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that I couldn't help but join her. "You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know that?" I said. She giggled and set up her cup on the counter and wrapped her arms around my neck. "You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even," she teased. We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy it had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sounds her hands made on the floor as she crawled away. I told myself she was just trying to be silly. Just trying to join me in my love of all things horror. It's not like I was afraid of her, but it still didn't sit right with me. I started seeing her peeking at me more and more. Sometimes she'd be peeking out from behind the couch or the living room curtains. Once she even managed to get inside her grandmother's old trunk that sits at the foot of our bed. I might not have known she was there at all had the trunk's old hinges not given her away. She'd had the lid propped up just enough that only half her face peeked through. She'd been grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. I didn't even know what to say to her. All I could do was stare. When I finally found my voice, I asked her why on earth she was doing this. She didn't answer. but she had slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I just walked away, feeling disturbed. I didn't understand why she was doing it, but it clearly made her happy. I just hoped she would tire of the game quickly. Lynn didn't peek at me for the next 2 weeks. I started to think she was done with her weird prank, and I was relieved. We were watching a show on Netflix one night, and I jokingly said that I hadn't seen her peeking at me lately, that she must have given up on her spy game. She looked up at me with a small smile and said, "Maybe I've just gotten better at it." I didn't say anything, but I wondered whether or not she was joking. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said. Was she still peeking at me when I wasn't looking and I just hadn't noticed? And if so, what the hell was she getting out of this? I started to feel paranoid, constantly checking whether she was watching from around the corner or behind a door. I was jumpy whenever I was home and she wasn't in full view of me. I felt stupid and a little crazy. But after a few weeks without another incident, I began to relax. I stopped checking behind furniture and walls and told myself it was just a bad memory. Then, a few days ago, things got so much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's and I lounged on the couch and played a couple games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower because I was washing the soap from my hair. I felt that awful feeling that I was being watched. I slowly opened my eyes and almost had a fucking heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain, her entire head stretched into the shower, leaving just her body outside. Her long, dark hair hung against the curtain, the ends dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red, as if she hadn't blinked in a while. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in 2 black streaks. She looked giddy and completely deranged. I was fucking terrified. We stood like that for a few moments, neither of us saying a word. Finally, after what felt like forever, she slowly pulled her head back out of the shower and I watched her blurry figure through the curtain as she moved backwards towards the bathroom door. A second later, the bathroom door slammed shut, hard enough to rattle the mirror. I screamed again and jumped out of the shower to lock the door. I stayed inside the bathroom for over an hour. Maybe I overreacted to some of you, but joke or not, I wasn't going to put up with the crazy shit anymore. That's what I kept telling myself as I paced my bathroom, stopping to listen at the door every few minutes. Suddenly I heard a muffled sound, and I pressed my ear against the bathroom door, straining to listen. I couldn't hear anything, but I envisioned Lynn standing on the joke. I felt a surge of anger. I was beyond pissed at being made to feel so scared in my own house, and made to hide in the bathroom for over an hour. For what? Some joke? If it was a joke, it was an awful one. "What the fuck, Lynn?" I snapped. "This shit is getting really fucking annoying." I waited for her to call, or to apologize, or to call me a jerk. But instead I heard a faint moan. So quiet, I wondered if I'd heard it at all. And then complete silence. "Lynn?" I called out, not being able to hide the shakiness in my voice. I got no response. Just my own heavy breathing. "I swear to God, just fucking stop it!" I yelled, pounding my fist on the door. I waited for her to cuss me out. Something I would expect from talking to her like that. I never screamed at her before. There was nothing. Just the occasional drip from the shower head. I won't deny that I was scared. Too afraid to open the damn door and face my own wife. I waited for another 30 minutes or so, which feels like a fucking lifetime when you're scared. Finally, I decided I wasn't going to spend the night hiding in my bathroom. I got down on my knees and peered under the door. I almost expected to see her face peeking back at me, but thankfully I didn't. I could see straight down the hallway to the top of the stairs. But no Lynn. I didn't know if I should be happy about that or not. I looked for a few minutes, waiting to see her head pop over the top step, but it never came. I stood up, my hand hovering over the door, and mentally prepared myself to open it. I slowly turned the lock with shaky fingers. and was about to yank it open when I heard a sound that still makes me nauseous when I think about it. A moan, louder than before. But this time, I was able to tell just where it was coming from. I turned my head to the closet door, as if in slow motion, and locked eyes with my wife, who was peeking out at me from the slight gap. Her eyes were wide and still as ever, and her mouth was hanging open in the most grotesque, gaping smile I'd ever seen. I didn't even scream. I was too scared even for that. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with sheer delight, as if she could barely contain her excitement. A short, raspy moan bubbled up from her throat, deep and raw, sending a shiver through my entire body. Somehow, I found the ability to pull the bathroom door open and ran as fast as I could, all the way down the steps, snagging my keys and phone from the table in the living room before running outside to my car. I could hear her shrill laughter behind me, but I didn't hear her getting closer. I didn't bother shutting the front door. I drove away from the house faster than I legally should have, shivering the entire time, either from fear or the cold, maybe a little of both. I hadn't grabbed a coat or even a pair of shoes. I was still in my boxers and my hair was damp. I drove straight to my brother Chris's house about 40 minutes away, ignoring any and every call and text that I got. I didn't check my phone until I was safely parked in my brother's driveway. Lynn had called 4 times and sent a flurry of texts, all wondering where I'd gone and why I left like that. I threw my phone at the dash in a rage, furious at her nonchalant attitude. My brother and his wife were surprised to see me, especially dressed in just a pair of boxers, but told me to stay as long as I needed. Chris lent me some clothes and asked me what happened. I told him Lynn and I had had a fight, but didn't get into the details. I didn't want him to think I was overreacting, leaving my wife over a prank, even if it was a strange one. I mean, hadn't I encouraged her for years to lighten up instead of being so serious all the time? I wanted her to relax and loosen up, but this was definitely not what I had in mind. I tried to sleep on their sofa, but my brain wouldn't let me sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face staring at me from inside the closet, knowing she'd been in there with me the entire time. Made my skin crawl. She never left the fucking bathroom at all. Instead, she slipped inside the closet and slammed the bathroom door shut to fool me. The mere thought of going back home gave me anxiety. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Chris ended up giving me a sleeping pill, so I was able to get a little rest. My mind was filled with terrible dreams, all of Lynn's smiling face. I woke up just as the sun started to rise. My sore body ached from the sofa and I felt drained. I knew I'd have to call Lynn at some point, but I didn't know what to say to her. I wouldn't be going home unless she gave me her word that she'd never do any more creepy shit. I just wanted my wife back. Her normal, serious self never looked so good to me. I was contemplating calling her and telling her that when the familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. I was staring at the ceiling, my heart in my throat. I didn't want to look away, but the longer I ignored the feeling, the worse it got. My eyes drifted away from the ceiling almost on their own. Her face was pressed up against the window beside the couch, staring down at me with that same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving 2 long streaks down the glass. Hello, Raiders, welcome. Sorry, I was looking for a good stopping point. Oh my gosh, sorry my silence. How was your stream? Did you have a good stream? Thank you so much for the raid. Guys, make sure to check out Kurage's channel and give her lots of support, okay? Well, she's not the ex yet. There's still time. No, it's okay. What were you up to? I don't know. Are you guys actually getting scared from this? I'm curious. Am I doing a good job reading? I'm not really familiar reading stories like this. I'm kind of curious. How many people actually get scared from literature? It doesn't have like the the visual component, you know? I don't know how many of you guys actually get scared. And the scariest thing about this. Well, as long as you enjoy it. Maybe I should have, what do you call it? How much longer? Oh shit, there's so much. Okay, well, it's a decent amount. Alright. Let me get some water. Let's see. Where was I? Sorry, I'm looking where it was. My eyes drifted away from the ceiling, almost on their own. Her face was pressed up against the window beside the couch, staring down at me with the same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving 2 long streaks down the glass. I didn't know how long she'd been there, but something told me she'd been there quite a while. Possibly all night. I didn't bother screaming, though I was afraid. Anger trumped any fear I felt at that moment. I jumped up from the couch and pounded my palm against the glass. "Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home!" I shouted. "Now!" She didn't move, and her ghastly expression never changed. If anything, her smile only grew, as if she had never been more elated. I could hear Chris and his wife moving around upstairs, as if Lynn could hear them from her place outside. Her head twitched slightly in their direction, and she began to close her mouth slowly. Chris called my name from upstairs, obviously concerned. I turned to see him and his wife Rebecca hurrying down the steps. When I turned back to the window, Lynn was gone. The only sign she'd been there at all was to the 2 streaks of drool dripping down the glass. I tried explaining to Chris and Rebecca about waking up to see Lynn watching me through their window. They were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? Chris and I went outside to the spot in the front of the window, but there were no footprints in the dirt. Just a slight indent. Animal, probably, Chris guessed, and I didn't argue. He and Rebecca assumed I dreamt the entire episode, but they didn't understand. And I was too tired to explain it to them. I called out of work that day and turned my cell phone off. I didn't want to face Lynn. Just talking to her was too much for me at this point. I really started to believe something was irreversibly wrong with her. That no matter what promises she'd made, we'd never be the same again. We'd never be the same again. The thought saddened me to my core. I cried most of the morning. By noon, I figured I was ready to confront her, give her one last chance to explain herself. I could at least give her that after 6 years, I told myself. I turned my phone on and saw dozens of texts she'd sent, all from a seemingly concerned wife. "Can we talk? I love you. Please call me. I'm really worried. Can you answer? Just come home." And more of the same, all texts telling me she loved me and she wanted me home. How worried she was. Not a damn one addressing the crazy shit she pulled, like she hadn't been acting like a character from a Stephen King book. Even her texts were different. She normally texted novels to tell me to pick up a loaf of bread. You'd think she'd have more to say after her bizarre shenanigans. I know it probably seems childish to some of you who are miles away from this situation, but if you saw the way Lynn had looked at me, how she scampered away on all fours like some wild animal, grinning at me from the inside of the closet like a lunatic, then I think you'd think my reaction was warranted. I ended up staying with Chris and Rebecca for another night. I didn't wake up yesterday and until afternoon, and thankfully I didn't see Lynn's face watching me through the window. I don't want to pry because it's not my place, but is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She made us both a sandwich for lunch, and I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming to be nosy. I don't know. She's like a different person, I said. choosing my words carefully. I still wasn't ready for her or Chris to know the full extent of the batshit craziness I had been dealing with. People change, Ben, but she's still the same woman you married. Maybe you both just need to talk through your issues. Whatever's going on, I'm sure it can be fixed, she said, ever the peacemaker. I think it's beyond that now. I don't think talking would help. I just don't trust her. I said, the words stung at my heart. I missed and loved my wife. But how could I live with someone like that? Living in constant fear didn't sound too appealing. Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed, she said. I don't know about that, I said. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I've never seen her so upset. Very much unlike the Lynn I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. It took a full minute for her words to really sink in, and when they did, I felt dread worming its way through my skin. Wait, what do you mean? You saw her? You saw Lynn? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Rebecca nodded casually, as if that fact wasn't nightmare fuel. Maybe for her it wasn't. She stopped by this morning, just after Chris left for work, she said, cleaning the plates from the table. I didn't see her car, though. Maybe she took an Uber or something. Heck, what did she say? Did she come inside? I asked, sweat starting to break out on my forehead. I began looking around, examining corners as though a predator lurked behind them. No, she just asked if you were awake yet, and I said you weren't. I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no, just to let you sleep, she said as she washed the dishes. That's all? She didn't say anything else? I asked. No, she looked awful, though. Like, she hadn't slept in days. I think you should call her. I got up from the table and thanked Rebecca for lunch. I felt a little better at the knowledge that at least she hadn't come inside. Still, I needed to double-check that the doors were locked. But what if you double-check they're locked? And she was inside. I sat for a while trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't want to go home, but I felt I owed it to Lynn to help her if I could. Hadn't I swore an oath to love and honor her through sickness and in health? If she was sick, which I truly believe she was, I had to try and get her the help she needed. But I didn't even know where to start. I didn't want to call police, and besides, what the hell was I going to tell them? That my wife was peeking at me? That she was being creepy? As bizarre as she had been, she still hadn't committed any crime. Not yet, anyway. The police would have probably said I was overreacting. But this wasn't some prank. It felt wrong. Dangerous, even. Like something sinister lurked beneath her smile. I knew, as her husband, I was well within my rights to have her committed. But what if she simply acted normal in their presence? She'd obviously been able to fool Rebecca into thinking she was just a concerned wife. As long as the doctors didn't find her a danger to herself or others, they'd have no choice but to release her after 72 hours. I felt lost and overwhelmed. So, I did what any husband in my position would do. I called her mother. I didn't want to, believe me. Her mother, Marianne, and I were never on the best of terms. We never fought or anything like that, but she just wasn't a very warm person, and wasn't really easy to get along with. She hardly ever smiled, and when she did, only her lips would move into a thin-lipped smile, leaving her eyes as blank as before. She gave off this aura that she felt she was permanently on the offensive. What if this is some genetic thing? I'm really wondering where this is gonna go. I've never read this before, so... let's see. I only met her twice, and both times were for such short visits. I got the impression she didn't approve of me for her daughter. Lynn always ushered us out.
What am I saying? Of course you don't.
Welcome back, Jelly Bones. Lynn always ushered us out quickly, as she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, which I guess I was grateful for. Being in her mother's company felt almost unbearable, like walking on glass. I was glad when we moved 3 states away so we didn't have to see her often. I was happy to avoid the woman, but I needed her help. I really didn't want to talk to her at all, but I had to talk to someone, and someone who knew Lynn better than I did. So I gripped my teeth and I did what I had to. Yes, she answered, already sounding irritated. Marianne, it's me, Ben. Do you have a minute to talk? I asked. I could hear her cluck her tongue in irritation. I'm in the middle of writing some checks, but if you insist, I suppose I can spare a moment. What is it that you want to discuss, Benjamin? She said coolly. It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely, and I was wondering if you had any idea there was something. I was quickly interrupted. It's a bit difficult to follow your rambling, Benjamin. What is it that you want from me? She asked. I could almost see her standing there in her thin sweater and slacks, tapping her fingers impatiently on the table. I wanted to know if you'd ever noticed any odd behavior, or possibly any mental health issues, I asked. There was a long, uncomfortable pause that I could tell, but I couldn't tell was because she was just thinking something else. Finally, after a few seconds, she spoke. I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if so, I don't find the humor in it. Now, I do have business to attend to, as I said, so if you don't mind, she said, but I cut her off before she could get rid of me. Marianne, it's not a joke. I'm sincerely concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior has been erratic lately. I'm very worried about her, and I figured as her mother, you would be as well, I said, my frustration evident in my voice. If you're truly concerned, then I suggest you get the health professionals involved. I don't know what you expect of me, she snapped. I could tell she was seconds away from hanging up, and for some reason I was desperate not to let her. I had the feeling she knew a lot more than she was letting on. Please, if not for me, do it for Lynn, I tried. I heard a faint, shaky intake of breath, as if she were trying to hold her steely persona together but failing. Marianne? What's wrong? I started. Benjamin, I don't know what to tell you. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again. Goodbye. I tried to call out to her, but she'd hung up. I tried to wrap my head around the call and her refusal to help me. Even if she didn't like me, why wouldn't she want to help her own daughter? I couldn't understand that. I tried to replay the conversation, desperate to find something I missed. After a while, I almost gave up until I remembered her last words to me. Seek professional help. She'd said those words with a bit of urgency. I could have just been grasping at straws, but no. I was sure her voice had changed ever so slightly when she'd said that. As if they were very important. What had she meant? I assumed she'd been referring to medical professionals, but maybe she was referring to someone else. Someone that she didn't, for some reason, feel comfortable saying directly. Or maybe I was just desperate. I waited for Chris to get home, and after a very long and exhausting conversation with him and Rebecca, I convinced them that Lynn truly needed psychiatric help. I didn't tell them everything. I wasn't prepared to get into it yet, but I told them about our last encounter, how she'd hidden in the bathroom peeking at me from the closet. They were very obviously shocked, but thankfully they believed me. They too just wanted to help her. Still, they didn't think it was all that serious. Weird, maybe, but not dangerous. They just kept saying that Lynn had to be playing some kind of weird joke. Maybe for YouTube? Rebecca offered, if only half-heartedly. Chris didn't think we should involve the police at all yet. He offered instead to go with me, and I readily accepted. He reasoned that calmly talking to her, trying to coax her into going willingly, was the best recourse. I tried to do it. I agreed to do it his way. At least I wouldn't be going into that house alone. We drove over this morning just after breakfast, and there was no way I was going at night. When we pulled into the driveway, my stomach began doing somersaults. Her car wasn't there, but I still didn't let my guard down. The front door was ajar, and for a split second I thought we'd see her eyes staring through the gap. I was shaking and starting to sweat. Chris, however, was fine. He waited for me to open the door, his hands in his pockets, like he was going on a fucking stroll through the park. I envied his ignorance. I pushed the door open, was immediately hit with a stench of rot. Chris smelled it too. And he walked in the house behind me with his nose scrunched up. What do you guys use to clean the floors around here? Shit? Chris mumbled. Shut up, I said, my eyes darting around for any signs of Lynn. The house was deadly quiet and dark despite being 10 in the morning. All the curtains were closed up tight, refusing to allow any sunlight inside. If I hadn't left just 2 days prior, I'd have thought the house to be abandoned. We moved through each room, carefully checking any place she might hide, occasionally calling her name. Why the fuck are you looking under the couch? Chris asked eventually. Aren't we supposed to be looking for your wife? He was looking at me like I was a moron. Let's just go upstairs, I whispered. He shook his head but followed me up the stairs to check the bathroom and the spare bedroom. On my way up, my shoes crunched over pieces of glass that looked to be littered over the few of the steps. I noticed that one of Lynn and Maya's wedding portraits that hung on the wall along the staircase had been smashed. The frame hung crookedly, all the glass removed. I stared at the picture, a lump forming in my throat. We had taken the photo just after leaving the church, after saying our vows. She looked so beautiful in her white gown. I looked at Lynn's beautiful face. I never dreamed her face would ever be a source of terror for me. We climbed the rest of the steps and checked the spare bedroom, but it looked completely untouched. I was hesitant to go into the bedroom, my fear from that night coming back to me all at once. Chris noticed and offered to go by himself, but I couldn't let him do that. So we walked in together, checking the closet and the shower. The bathroom looked as if it hadn't been touched since the night I left. I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes and we'll try coming back tomorrow or something? Chris said. I nodded and went into our bedroom and shoved some clothes into a duffel bag. When I checked inside our closet, I came across the source of the smell and gagged. Chris took one look and lost all color in his face. He had to go stand by the stairs to get away from the sight and smell. I gazed down in shock at what lay inside my bedroom closet. Soaking into the rug were at least a dozen eyeballs, all carefully laid out in pairs. Some were as large as a quarter, while others were as tiny as a marble. I stared down at the eyes she collected from small animals, and I wondered how she'd gotten them, and shuddered at the thought. I thought it had been bad with Becca's shoe addiction, but fuck me, man. You're always in here collecting eyeballs, Chris said, gagging. Ben, I think we should go, he called from the hall. I'm getting nauseous. All right. I grabbed my duffel and shut the closet door on my new nightmare. I stepped out into the hall and took a deep breath of air. I could taste the rot on my tongue and I couldn't help but gag. Who the fuck lines up eyeballs in their closet like that? Chris mumbled. I tried to tell you she needed help, I said. She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist, he said. You coming or what? I can't stand the smell any... His words died in his throat, and his eyes grew wide with fear. I didn't ask him why. I could feel it. Someone was watching me, and I didn't think it was the eyes in the closet. I turned around, my eyes slowly scanning the bedroom. Eyes, I whispered, as I finally saw what we'd missed. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. She held her hands together just under her chin, and they were shaking eagerly. Now that she'd been found, I could hear the quiet noises she was making, a sort of hiccuping sound in her throat, as if the excitement was just too much for her. It was unnerving, to say the least. Wide eyes, and that same huge smile. Everything in me told me to run, but I forced it away. This was my wife. No matter how twisted, she was still the woman I married. I had to help her. Lynn, I said softly. She didn't respond, but her head bobbed back and forth in two little quick movements as if she were nodding. Baby, I just want to help you, okay? Can you help me do that? I asked. I had taken a single step forward, approaching her like some kind of dangerous animal. I love you, Lynn, I said softly, taking another step closer. She let a tiny moan escape her wide-open mouth, and I had to resist the urge to run. Her shoulders were starting to quiver, and her eyes grew as large as saucers. I crouched down so I could see her better, and immediately saw the blood. Her hands were covered in it. They trembled more the closer I got, as if she was barely able to contain herself. Lynn, are you hurt? You're bleeding, I said. She bobbed her head again, her bloody fingers moving up and down as if playing an invisible piano. They occasionally grazed her chin, leaving smears of blood on her skin. I wanted to recoil in disgust. The smell that was coming off of her was revolting. I could feel the vomit trying to climb up my throat. Her lips were dry and stretched thin, blood seeping between the cracks. I knew she wouldn't come out on her own, but I didn't want to leave her in the state she was in. I scooted closer and reached out to her. The excited hiccuping sounds got louder and her fingers shook, fingers flexing. It was then that I could see the blood oozing from in between her fingers. Oh my god, Lynn, you're bleeding! I said. Instinctively, I reached out to take her hand, but before I could even touch her, her hand sprang out towards me. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back on my ass. My arm burned, and I could see blood dripping down onto the carpet. I looked back at her in shock and saw her grinning madly, her fingers clutching a large shard of glass. You alright in there? Chris asked from behind me. I turned my head slightly, nodded to him, and cradling my arm to my chest. When I turned back to face Lynn, I saw that her focus had shifted. She wasn't looking at me anymore. And she wasn't smiling anymore either. She was staring past me, her eyes glaring at Chris the way a hungry lion might stare at an antelope. Her mouth was still hanging open, but it was twisted into a snarl. I got to my feet and began walking backwards towards the hall, afraid to take my eyes off her. Are you bleeding? Chris asked. The moment the words left his mouth, Lynn started fast scooting out from under the bed, glass shards still in her fist. Chris, run! Go! I yelled. He must have been too afraid to move because a second later I felt my back bump into him. He was still standing at the top of the stairs, staring at the horror that was my wife. Lynn had crawled completely out from under the bed and stood in the bedroom doorway, her face twisted in a rage. Her whole body was visibly tense. Blood ran down her fingers and onto the floor. Jesus, Lynn, Chris said. You up playing hide and seek? I reached back and pushed him towards the steps. Move your ass, Chris, I said quietly, but as firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in fast, sharp motions and began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider and wider so that her chin seemed to touch her chest. I heard Chris mutter a prayer and he was running down the stairs. I stood at the top of the steps, stuck between the love for a woman who clearly needed serious help and self-preservation. I only want help, I said, choking back tears. Her eyes focused on me once again, and she slowly lifted the glass, holding it out in front of her. And then she started sprinting towards me, grinning with utter excitement. Thankfully, my body took over, and I flew down the stairs, skipping 2 and 3 at a time. I made it to the front door, and I felt her leap onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck, her mouth open next to my ear so I could hear those terrible hiccuping sounds up close. I shook her off me, knocking her to the floor. I felt a searing pain in my back as she went, but I tore open the front door and bolted to my car. Chris was standing in the front yard, talking on the phone with the police. I didn't say a word. I just ran to my car and jumped in. Chris took the hint and followed me, still on the line with 911. I watched the rear view mirror. Sure, I'd see her there, running after us. But I never did. I went straight to the ER and got 11 stitches on my arm and 3 on my back. The police asked a lot of questions and went back into the house to do a search, but of course, Lynn wasn't there. They advised me to stay with a friend or relative for a while and to file a restraining order as soon as I could, but none of those things would matter. Somehow I just knew. I dropped Chris off at home and went to a motel an hour away. I wanted to put as much distance between me and Lynn as I could. This is where I've been for the last 4 hours. I thought maybe the police would find her. Maybe they'd get her the help she desperately needs. But no, I don't think so. Because 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. I found you. And a picture attached. The picture was dark and grainy, but I instantly knew it was. There was no mistaking my wife's eye. I started typing this out immediately after. I don't know what to do. I'm alone and scared, and I can't help but feel I'm being watched. And that's the end of the story. Wow. I thought there would be like a reason or something. Interesting. I thought I've literally just read all of this now. I thought there would be more. Yeah, that's the end. I think that's part of like what makes it scary though. And like adds to the experience, you know? Do you think there's a part 2? I'm not sure if there is. Bro, I would never be able to look at my wife the same way. Should have been mean on him. Is this what you're into, bro? I knew you were a degen, but this, you know what? Power to you. 2-sentence horror, but then by the time you guys read it, it'll already be over. I wonder what was wrong with her. What are your theories? My theories with this that this was like some like almost like genetic curse or like curse passed down her family or something. Or like possession. You know what I mean? Well, it's so scary to slowly see your wife fading away from herself. You know what I mean? I don't think it was trauma. This is some supernatural shit. No way. I like the PvP flag enabled after marriage. Start it early so you can develop the addiction to the trauma. She was just evil and she did the same thing to her family as a child? Really? That doesn't sound right though, cause like what's the trigger? Nah, I would have called a priest. No way. Start showering in holy water. Try peeking then, bitch. Maybe like a devil child or something, yeah. That was a fun one to read though. Thank you for the suggestions, Barton. What is this one? Creepypasta. Okay, we'll see. You probably melt if you showered in holy water. We'll see. I don't know about that, bro. No one in this chat is that bad. Are you? Guys, be honest. Would you melt if you were in holy water? I hope not. 30 minutes? Never mind. God damn it, Hiko. Way too long. Have you... Okay. Here, I like these threads that it's like, have you ever had a legitimate supernatural experience? Let's see. I want to see. Okay. Yeah. Many years ago in Richmond Hill, Queens, New York, I was with my friend at his house hanging out. He informed me ahead of time that his house was haunted. As we watched TV, the dog went to the bottom of the staircase, growled loudly, and began thumping. And the thumping began at the top of the stairs. The thumping worked its way to each step, and the dog growled even more. At the final step, the thumping ended. A month or two later, older brother and I were heading to visit his then girlfriend for a barbecue. I tagged along since parents weren't home. There was a church around the corner from my friend's house right above. I too lived up the block. As we drove near the church, I see to my right side a white and pale figure, an older man with bright blue eyes, floating towards us in the direction of the church. My brother slows down and says, "Did you see that?" I was so scared I couldn't respond, but I nodded. My brother and I went to perform a U-turn and the figure disappeared. Bro, have you guys had any supernatural experiences? I don't really know if I've had them, but I said this during my collab with Leora. Like, I'm not a super superstitious person. Like, I'm mildly superstitious, right? But like, I believe in ghosts. And I don't want to say I don't believe in ghosts, because like, what if they hear me talking shit and they're like, "Oh, you want to believe in ghosts? I'll make you believe in ghosts." No, I'll be a bottom for the ghosts. It's okay. It's too scary otherwise. One time, oh yeah, I used to have sleepovers at a friend's house a long time ago. She had like this, what do you call it? What is the word? There was like a Halloween decoration that was like, cause she lived in the basement, right? There was a Halloween decoration that was like never stored and it was always there, and I would see it in the middle of the night sometimes when I woke up, and it would freak me the fuck out. I hated that. Machine gremlins count? What's machine gremlin? Like random noises from machines? The real world is traumatic enough. I don't have time for ghosts. Fair, honestly. Yes, I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. A good way to describe it, Muggy. I wish. I've even spent the night over at a haunted house twice, but nothing happened. Really? What haunted house did you go to, Danny? Aw. None. I think ghost stories and experiences are nonsense. Nah, I'm scared as fuck, bro. I don't care. Although I've been believing less in the like recent years, but I still believe, because like, what if I say I don't believe in ghosts and then they do something because I was talking shit? I can be so fucking petty, and I would not be surprised if the ghost followed suit. When you're working on a machine that has issues that can't be found or just decide to go away, especially when you say things will go smoothly. Oh. Yeah, I've had stuff like that happen to me. Why are you being petty? Because I can, bitch. I'm superstitious enough to believe in myself? What does that mean? For a few years, I would see gray children in my peripheral vision. It happened a few different times in a few different places, but it hasn't happened in a while. Maybe you just had early onset glaucoma. Insomnium, have you seen an ophthalmologist? I don't actually believe in ghosts, but just like immersive fantasy, the more I am in a haunted place, the more I get freaked out. Oh, that's true. When I like, horror games aren't that bad without sound, but the second you add the atmosphere, holy fuck, it gets to me. No one can produce good evidence. Yeah, even my favorite channel, I love The Watcher, right? And I love their like ghost files or thingy, right? But I will say that anything you see on a ghost hunting show can be faked. Like, it won't be on camera, and there's no way to prove that it isn't fake, you know? I just trust them and I like their content. Because their whole thing is that One is a skeptic, the other is a believer. But even then, there's so much stuff. Like, they could be setting up stuff, like events to happen, theoretically, off camera. Yeah. You know. It's just an old house in my town where some stuff happened in the past. People told me one heard stuff. What? One would hear stuff, and the ghost of a lady who died there would turn on the faucets and whatnot. What a waste of water. I grew up with my mom's dead aunt watching over me. That's so specific. Oh my god. Maybe she was like looking out for you. I like these shows to be clear, but I think they're incentivized to be full of shit. Oh yeah, for sure, a lot of them. I think that's part of the reason why I like The Watcher so much, because I feel like it's kind of like a comedy, you know? It feels like they're very transparent with the audience, because Shane will straight up say like, I don't think that was a ghost, I think that was something else, you know? And yeah, they could theoretically be lying, but it's better than like every other ghost show. The Dark Somnium, he's such an amazing narrator and adds music and sound effects to his reading, really adding to the experience. I'm doing this live, bro. What you want from me? I already have the spooky background. Maybe I'll get a soundboard one day. Ugh, sounds like a pain in the ass. Maybe if I was doing like videos, I would do that, but this is live, so... I don't know if this counts, but when I was a kid, I used to hear voices in my head in one room of the house I grew up in. What did they say to you? What did the voices say to you, Calinari? Can you read the next one in edgelord voice? To be honest,
Thank you, my good sir.
Weeks ago I went to camping with my younger sister and her fiancé. We were at the tent ready to sleep around 9 p.m. when we started hearing steps outside. We were dead silent to hear better. We reached a consensus that it was steps. We go out, we see nothing.
Maybe it was an animal? I hope it was an animal. Thank you, Vicent. Hi, Ramses. Yeah, it was probably like a small animal or something. But I don't know. Let's see. A couple that come to the top of my head. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and there is an old railroad out in the middle of nowhere, where it said that a group of kids were killed on a bus. Now, if you go there and stop before the railroad, which appears to be on a hill, and put your car at neutral, the ghost children will push you into the railroad up the hill. If you stop on them, they will push you off of them. When I was an early teen, 13 or 14, I went with my aunt and a group of her friends to do this, and we were in an old, dirty, from dust car. When we were done, we had and had been pushed on. Once we were done and had been pushed both on and off, we stopped at a gas station on our way home, and I looked over and I could see 3 or 4 distinct wavy fingers on the window I was sitting next to, as if someone had placed their hand there to push the car. The girl sitting next to me turned and saw it not long after me and started screaming and panicking and yelling that she wanted out of the fucking car. Damn. I'm okay, Hideki, but I really need to stop. What do you call it? I'm getting so excited when I read. My throat. The second one is my mom and I moved into a house a few houses away from my grandma's house when I was about 8 or 9, and it was the one time growing up that not only did I have my own room but a playroom. I remember in my playroom every once in a while I could hear something hanging from the light but couldn't see anything. There was a ghost of a large type snake that would wander around in there. My mind says it was an anaconda, but not really sure what. I never told my mom, at least that's what she said when I discussed it with her as an adult. She never told me that until that same adult discussion that a man had committed suicide in that room by hanging, and he had a large snake that had to be taken away when they found his body. Oh shit. Damn. They would whisper how everyone hated me and no one would ever care about me. Mostly just stuff like that. Usually I would think it was my own doubts, but it did not sound like my internal voice. Wow, that's scary. I'd be tilted if I heard that. Let's see, what else is there to read? How long did I end up reading that that creepy pasta for? It felt like a while. Let's see. Oh. This one looks interesting. Let's see. Paste. Alright. Are you guys ready for the next one? You want to experience a real thing? Like a real supernatural experience? I don't know if I would want to experience one because I feel like the second you experience it once, right? You know it can happen. And once you know it can happen, you worry about it happening again. You know? You don't think you would feel that, Robin? It wasn't supernatural, but it was at school where there was a story of guys who made moonshine and tried to kidnap a student. What the heck is that? Oh my god. That rabbit is metal. Holy moly. Alright. The scariest thing I can think of is no more Rana videos. Maybe a long time from now. We'll see. Alright, this one is... A man has been standing in the middle of our street for the past 4 days. We can't leave our home. I awoke to the faint sound of sobbing in the distance. At first, my tired mind associated the sound with one of our kids, my mind barely lingering on the edge of consciousness. The longer I lay there, the more I started to realize how off it sounded. The sobs were too dark, akin to those of a grown man, and they were coming from outside our home. Can you check up on the kids, please? My wife mumbled where she lay next to me, still partially asleep. It's not the kids, I whispered back, more annoyed than anything. Upon peeking out the window, I quickly confirmed my suspicions. As I thought, there was a man standing in the middle of the street, just sobbing. Even though the ancient streetlights outside barely illuminated him, something was clearly wrong about his presence. He stood perfectly still as he sobbed, not even appearing to breathe as he let out the broken calls that shattered the silence of the night. Good night, bad guy. You know, guys, this reminds me of a story. Have you ever read this story? It was like a creepypasta where it was just this dude running on the opposite side of the street. He started walking and then running and then walking and then running, just following whatever the person did. And they were like this extremely tall, like lanky figure. Let's see. Across the street, I could see some of my neighbors' lights turn on, as more had clearly been awoken by the sounds of distress. "Shut up, will ya?" a man screamed down from the street. But he received no response. My first instinct was to check if he needed help. Something about his appearance locked me in place, frozen from fear, and leaving me unable to logically plan out my next move. He was tall, with only a few strands of gray hair emerging from his otherwise bald head. He was facing me, but due to the poor lighting conditions, I could barely get a clear look at his face. Guys, how do I put this? I feel... I forgot. Oh no, I forgot. I was gonna say, like, I do feel like kind of energy is a thing, because otherwise how else would instincts work, you know? Like, that's like energy from someone that you're interpreting as like danger, you know? Home invasion, yeah, home invasion is terrifying. Whenever I read like home invasion stories, like fake or otherwise, I cannot read too many of them too frequently because it will make me paranoid. Like, I have to take a break from my mental health. Those are the ones that really fuck me up, you know? Guys, I'm how old now, and I'm afraid to go into my basement still. Especially the crawl space. Something about that. I know, I'm very spooky today. Hi, Eagle. About half an hour had passed before I realized I hadn't moved an inch. I'd been transfixed, and only broke free once my wife properly woke up to ask me what I was doing. I don't know, I stuttered. There's a man standing on the street. I think he needs help. Joanna joined my side at the window. Even in the dark, I could tell her face had turned completely pale by the mere sight of him. What's wrong? I asked. Call the police. Don't go outside, she said with a shaky voice. Why? What did you see? I don't know. Just don't go outside, please, she begged. I grabbed her hand and gently pulled her away from the window. Something about the man had put us both into an undeniable state of panic. But apart from his unsettling look, there wasn't an explainable reason for the fear we felt. I think that's one of the scariest things. When someone is terrifying to you and you really don't have a reason why, there's no logical reason why, right? Something about that person just unsettles you to your core. Let's see. She nodded and basically jogged down the hallway toward our kids' room. As I dialed 911, I wondered what I could possibly say to convey the threat of a seemingly harmless man just standing there and crying. Still, left without any other options, I turned to the police. 911, what's your emergency? A woman asked on the other end. Sorry, my name is Zach Larson. There's a man standing in the middle of the street just crying loudly. I don't know if he's drunk or what, but he's scaring the kids. I can't really say it's an emergency, but something is definitely wrong with that man, I explained. Alright, sir. We'll send a patrol car to check it out. Could you confirm your address, please? She asked. I confirmed my details and the conversation ended. Due to the quiet night, they estimated that a patrol car would swing by in just under 10 minutes. With that, I felt like my civic duties had been completed, and once Joanna returned to tell me the children were fast asleep, I calmed down ever so slightly. After closing the blinds, two of us headed back to bed, confident that the police would handle the situation, and I wished that would be the end of our story. I truly do. But as fate would have it, things would only get worse from here. Guys, I told you about the drunk girl I had to help find her way home, right? Actually, the way I found out was because she was crying and like sobbing and like actually like wailing in the middle of the night, and I woke up and she was like wailing not to be left behind. It was kind of scary, bro, because you never know what they can do when they're like intoxicated. And nobody really went out to help her, and I tried to help her, and eventually we found like her way home. It turned out she lived just down the street, and the Uber driver I called for her was wondering if it was a joke. No, I just had bad directions. Well, to be fair, I put it in Google Maps and it said that it was like a 5-minute drive away, so I was like, but I think maybe I had it on wrong. But it was really scary, dude. I just remember hearing her just wailing and wailing as if she was like going through the biggest like thing of grief, and I was like, okay. Alright. There I lay in bed, too unsettled to fall asleep. I just stared at the ever-ticking clock as an hour passed. The man kept crying, producing unrelenting sobs with each passing second. Then 2 hours passed, and the police had still not appeared. By then, I considered checking out the window once more, but the mere thought of him standing there kept me from even parting the curtains. At around 4 in the morning, I had come to assume that I'd suffer through another sleepless night. But as the first rays of orange sunshine hit the blinds, the world around me felt dark, forcing me into a dreamless slumber. To my horrors, the sobs wouldn't cease even then. Hours passed while I remained in an uncomfortable state, somewhere between full consciousness and true sleep. Once I finally awoke, I was met with a little more than total darkness coming from outside. Technically, it was 5 minutes begin starting up the car. I don't know about that. People are scary, but people also need help. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, for those of you that are new here, so a couple months ago, there was a girl crying in my neighborhood, and she was sobbing and sobbing. Good night, Wiz. And she was drunk. She didn't know how to get home. She lost her phone, and I didn't feel comfortable letting her inside the house. But I remember this. I don't know why I didn't bring my dog down, especially since like part of the reason we got my dog, like my newer dog, was for protection, and she's like a German Shepherd. So, anyways, what do you call it? I was just down there trying to get information from her. She didn't remember her address because apparently she just moved here. And she was like drunk, and she was just like a young teen, and she was saying that she really needed to like get her phone, that it was like nearby. I was like, okay, well, you can look for it in the morning. And well, my dog she's like a German Shepherd Retriever Collie mix. Well, we have 3 dogs, but that's our big one. And when I get a hug from her, she's like up to my shoulders. And I'm like 5'4", so like she's at the very least up to my chest. She's like decently sizable. She can definitely like knock you down, but she's a super cuddle bug, but she looks scary, so good enough. That said, I did not think to bring her. I really should have, but I did not. Anyways, I was trying to get like her some food and water from outside, and I went to the kitchen to grab it for her, and I like locked the front door. I go back to the front, and she's gone. And I'm sitting here, and I can hear like my heartbeat pounding in my ears. And I slowly see, like, I go to the back because I have this feeling. And she's struggling to like open the screen door, and then the back door. And I see the handle, like the knob, slowly turning. And I was just like, you cannot be in here. I'm sorry. I don't feel comfortable with you in my home. And she like went into the washroom, and like she did that like twice. She went into the house like twice, and she wasn't like malicious or anything. She didn't do anything. And like I gave her like $50 and sent her on her way eventually. But holy shit, dude, it was so fucking scary. Like I was thinking that to myself, actually, Dragon. I was thinking, is this a horror movie? Like the way it was almost like in slow motion. So all I could see was the door slowly, like the knob slowly turning, because my mom was the last one downstairs and she didn't lock the door. And I remember as she was struggling with the door, because because she's drunk, her coordination is shit, right? I was like, there's no way that today of all days my mom forgot to lock the door. And I just remember being really horrified, especially because we live in like a super safe neighborhood. But I was just thinking, what am I gonna do here? You know? And okay, to clarify, since we live in a house, right? She had to go around my house and open the gate, and then open the screen door, and then open the back door. And I didn't hear her do any of that when I was in the kitchen. And like, the gate is pretty loud. So it's really disconcerting to me that I didn't know that any of that was going on. That's one thing that's always like stuck with me through that experience. And I don't know why. I didn't think to ask anyone for help. At that moment, it felt like I lived alone in my house. And I mean, that was part of the reason too. I didn't want her inside because, like, of my mom. Because I was like, it's not just my house, you know? But yeah, I just let her use the washroom, and then she kept trying to come inside. Also, I got absolutely destroyed by mosquitoes because this was in the summer, dude. There were so many fucking mosquitoes. I woke up with so many welts on my legs and my arms. Oh my god. Yeah. That was probably one of the scariest experiences I've ever had. Yeah. Wait, what's a sign that something is very wrong? The fact that I didn't hear it? Like... Bro. How do I put this? Because, so, the gate, right? Is... It's like a... You know those poles that are hollow? And if you hit them, they'll ding. Right? And it's like the latch is metal and the pole it's attached to is metal. So it's very, very loud. Or at least, like, it's not super, super loud, but, like, you'll hear it from inside the house. And she just opened it. And to be fair, you don't really hear the gate opening. I don't remember if it was closed when I found it again. Or if she if she closed it or if she opened it. Because she came in through the back door and then I let her out through the front door. Yeah, no, she was, like, crazy drunk. I was surprised she was still, like, forming sentences. If that. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Well, the thing is, I could kind of understand it. But it was... It's a little strange because... She was on the front porch and she would have had to go to, like, the other side of the house and walk down a path to see the gate. You know what I mean? It is a lot of steps. Like, I understand, like, basic instinct, but simultaneously, she was new to the neighborhood. You know? Like, that's a lot of looking, you know? I don't think we've ever been robbed. Sorry, Emily, are we sharing IRL paranormal stories today? I mean, you can. Hi, Ryuden. Mosquitoes are evil. I hate mosquitoes. But yeah, I hope, like... I think this was also something that surprised me. One of my neighbors is a cop. So... I don't know if he was, like, out working, but... Or, like, nobody heard her. But almost no one tried to help her. One person did kind of come out because I think she knocked on their door. And they, what do you call it? They gave her the directions to her house, but she was too drunk to follow it, I think. But... Yeah, but he would have been, like, off duty. But, I don't know. I was surprised how few people tried to help her because my neighborhood is very much like there are a lot of like maybe this is part of the reason why not many people tried to help her because there are a lot of children in the neighborhood. Maybe they didn't want to risk anything for their kids, which I can understand. And you couldn't really hear her. Was she actually drunk? You sure it wasn't pretense? Oh yeah, she smelled of liquor. And like she showed me her ID afterwards. Like I got a picture of her ID. So like I could like you know, just have something in case, because she was saying that she doesn't have it isn't on her like ID, but what do you call it, her information. Did you have any pets at the time? Did they not react / have a premonition? Bro, they were sleeping like the dead. I have 2 dogs. I have a big dog. Well, now we have 3 dogs because my sister's dog is here now. But there was... I had my big dog, which I did not think to bring her. even though I really should have. I will say that when I walk at night, I feel much safer with my dog because she's quite large. But the problem is, guys, my dog's a little bitch. She really is. Dude, my dog got scared of a little scarecrow decoration in the neighborhood. And then today, when we were on a walk, that's the reason I was late for the watch along, because I forgot about you guys. When we were on a walk, she got scared of, you know those Halloween garbage bags? Like the orange ones with the with the faces on them, like pumpkins. She got scared of that and she almost dragged me across the like sidewalk. I was like, what the fuck? I'll be your dog, Rana. You already are my dog. Now sit. Bro, it was so scary though. I wonder what she's doing now, actually. I gave her like my number and stuff so she could call me, but I never heard anything back. To be fair, she definitely could have lost it. I told her to put it in her wallet. I felt bad for her because she was saying how her phone that she lost had like all the pictures of like her baby on it. And I was like, oh, that's rough, buddy. That's true. Maybe one day I'll show you guys my dog. My dog is very, very pretty. Yeah, she was clearly a very troubled person. I can't imagine being in that position, especially if you just move there, you know, you feel very alone. Most dogs unless they have training specifically for it can't be relied on to defend you. A friend that does training, and it's wicked smart how smart some of those dogs are. Right? Oh my god. I was watching this dude and he does like dog training, right? And he can like command his dog to like pee and poo. Can I do that with you guys? Let's see. Investment banking. Are you looking at stocks right now? Is it working? Can you imagine if you just had a compulsion to do that? You can do that with your dogs? Really? Did you? Right here? Yeah. No, sorry. That's because you don't have any money to do investment banking with. God damn it. Oh my god. It's okay. We're all broke. I don't know how to do stocks either. No, my dog, I don't trust her to protect me. You know, the only thing she protects is my food. Or, like, her food. Which is actually kind of concerning because she's been snapping at my sister's dog lately. Because they're both, like, super highly food motivated. And, I don't know what history my dog had. But, what do you call it? Her dog is... It's so annoying that every single time I open my door...
Is this a stock?
You know, I wouldn't say it's a stock, but it is a very good investment towards my future. You guys want a long future with me, right? It's a great investment. You're behind by 10 years for the investment banking? Am I? To be honest, I just think of Monopoly. My sense of finance is not good. But actually, guys, I did not spend all my money this month. Are you proud of me? I still had a fair, like, amount left. I'm so shocked at myself. I'm getting better, though. I think I'm getting it, like, out of my system because I haven't had financial freedom until now. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, my dog has been snapping at my sister's dog recently because they both, what do you call it? They both love food. And my sister's dog is like this little rat terrier. She doesn't even dislike me, but she barks every time I breathe. I'm not even saying this like as an exaggeration. Every time I open my door to my, like, if she's in the living room downstairs, if I open the door to my bedroom to go out to like go to the washroom, right? She will start barking at me. She will run to the bottom of the stairs and start barking at me. It's so obnoxious. I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know why she's like that. Because she doesn't even hate me. Like, she doesn't mind being pet by me. I don't get it. I don't know. Man. Hopefully, my dog starts to chill. My dog is senile and barks at everything. She can barely see or hear. Dude, okay, my one of my dogs is like 17 years old, and he's like this itty bitty like toy poodle mix, and he has like, because he's like much older, right? He has like the glassy eyes, and he'll like come over and you'll see him look so happy to like find you. He has so much energy still. Man. It's crazy. Yeah, oh yeah, we were reading a chilling horror story. Maybe one day I'll show you guys my dogs. Although here, let me look. Oh. Oh, huh. The thing is, my dog, I don't know if it's just relative, but my dog's pretty unique looking. So I don't know if I can show her on stream. Maybe she's more generic than I thought. Maybe I have rose-colored glasses on. Well, I didn't know this before, right? So when I first got her, we just thought she was like a German Shepherd Collie mix, right? But then, like, we were talking to the trainer, and she was like, what breed? And I'm like, oh, German Shepherd Collie mix. And she's like, really? I think there's a lot of Retriever in there. And I was like, really? And then I started to see it more as she like grew up. And now that I look at her, I can't unsee the Retriever in her. My little mutt. My little mud blood. She's so cute. I love her little fluffy ears. She was in here earlier. Actually, maybe I can show a picture. She's more generic than I thought. Alright. I'll probably read the rest of the story and then we'll call it quits here. There isn't. Okay. Once I finally awoke, I was met with little more than total darkness coming from outside. During the summer, I'd expected the sun to rise at around 6. And since the time had been around 4 the last time I checked, I knew I couldn't have been under for more than 30 minutes. Despite that logic, my body felt broken, beyond broken. I was excruciatingly parched, and my bladder was on the brink of rupture. I rolled out of bed, weak and broken, still hearing the sounds of the crying man. Meanwhile, my wife still slept peacefully, seemingly unbothered by the ungodly noise. Then I picked up my phone and checked the time. It read 12:03 a.m., an impossible hour considering it had been 4 mere moments ago. I stumbled over to the window, still petrified but determined to figure out exactly what the hell was going on. He just stood there unmoved since the last time I laid eyes upon me. I laid eyes upon him? Down the road, I noticed an empty patrol car with the lights blinking, but the officers themselves were nowhere in sight. What the hell was going on? I mumbled to myself. As before, the sight of the man put me into sort of a trance, one that was only broken once I heard a tiny voice coming from behind me. "Why is the man crying?" my son asked. "Yeah, Alex, where's your brother?" "He's in his room. He wet the bed." Chat. Did you wet the bed? Very bad. Burn it. Burn it. He said matter-of-factly. Steven was only 5, but I'd assumed his bedwetting days were a thing of the past considering the last accident had been over a year earlier. 𝑴𝑬𝑺 or question mark? Before checking on him, I decided to give the police officer another call. Before I could dial the number, I noticed the day. It was Saturday, which meant we'd been asleep for almost 24 hours, skipping over Friday entirely. "Alex, go back to your room. Daddy has to make a call, and then I'll come check on you, alright?" In shock, I jotted the information down to a broken calendar and called the police once more. Alas, to my absolute terror, I didn't have a single bar of signal. Oh God. I slept through the entire day. How? My wife called out in confusion and embarrassment. She just rolled herself over to check the time. I don't know, I responded meekly. It doesn't make any sense. And that guy is still crying? Where's the police? She asked. Their car is just standing there, but they're just gone. As the minutes went by, it dawned on me that we had actually missed an entire day. That's why Stephen had wet the bed. Why my own bladder was on the verge of exploding. Because we'd somehow been sedated. We'd been forced to sleep through the entire day. Only to suffer the horrors of night. But as parents, we had an incredible ability to reevaluate our priorities. Regardless of the situation, we deal with our kids first. We headed over to clean up Stephen's bed, all the while we tried to come up with an exit strategy. We tried out each and every phone, hopelessly calling for help. When the phones failed, we tried the internet, which turned out to be just as futile. Oh my god. They're gonna have to play board games. Try the television, Joanna finally suggested. You guys... Oh my god! Wait, I wouldn't have cable in a situation like this. Upon turning the ancient device on, we were met with a little more than a staticky mess. It was a screen of snow mixed with barely intelligible images. Based on what we could guess, the image showed the outline of a man standing in front of the camera, overlaid only by a single line of text that read, "Come outside." How is it doing that? Joanna asked in a panic. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure going outside is a fucking stupid idea, I blurted out, momentarily forgetting there were kids around. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way. Joanna and I moved to the window, ordering the kids to stay away. On the other side of the street, one of our neighbors stumbled out, seemingly disoriented. He was wielding a bat. "I'm gonna fuck you up," he yelled. Who yells it? Who yells that? What? I pulled the window open, ready to yell at him to get back inside. No sooner had our neighbor reached the crying man than the air fell to a deafening silence. A second passed, then the sobs were replaced by a maniacal laughter that increased in intensity for each passing moment. Though we all knew the laughter came from the man, it simultaneously sounded like someone was standing inside our own house. It was the loudest thing I'd ever heard, enough to knock us to the ground in absolute agony. "Close the window!" Joanna screamed. I quickly did as commanded, to no avail. Despite our efforts, the laughter remained as incessant and loud as ever. Then, as suddenly as it began, it just stopped. What was that? Alex cried as Joanna grabbed both him and Stephen in a tight hug. "Shh, it's okay," she said, as comforting as she could. "Just stay away from the windows, alright?" By the time I could stand up to assess the situation, our neighbor had long since vanished. All that was left in his absence was a trail of blood and guts that led up to the monster of a man, who'd promptly returned to his sobbing relentlessly. No, I let out merely a whisper. Bro, this is actually some SCP. I swear to God, this is actually an SCP. The next hours were spent in absolute silence. All we could do was wait for sunrise and pray for a hopeful escape. We kept the television on should any news appear. Our kids, while worried, were too young to fully grasp the gravity of the situation. In a way, I envied them. They saw us as their ultimate guardians, able to protect them from any harm in the world. Based on what we just witnessed, I didn't believe that to be true. We moved to the kitchen to grab some food, counting down each minute until daylight. But as I noticed the first orange hue appear on the horizon, I once again felt my legs give up beneath me. In less than a second, darkness enveloped me, and I fell unconscious on the floor. Once again, we awoke around midnight the next night, meaning yet another day had come and gone. But that time, we didn't have any phones or computers to tell us the date, as the batteries had long since died. All we had were a couple of wristwatches to tell the time. Still, the sobs persisted. It had gotten ever so slightly louder since our neighbor got killed. But despite the obvious calls for distress, there wasn't a single hint of sadness portrayed in his broken cries. The more we listened, the less we believed the man to be human. Oh no. I flicked the switch, but nothing reacted. After futilely checking every power source in the house, including the circuits, I realized the entire neighborhood had gone dark. That's when my wife asked a question that truly caused all hope to abandon my body. couldn't they come to help us? She asked. I didn't have a good answer, nor could I muster up any believable words of comfort. I could only do my best to protect my family from the horrific threat looming over the neighborhood until I myself finally succumbed to it. That night, we witnessed another 3 neighbors exit their homes in futile attempts at confronting the man. Each time, the sickly laughter would ring through the air, and another friend would be dead. They didn't even resist their deaths. They just walked over without showing a hint of emotion, willingly meeting their agonizing demise. Huh. Oh. It wouldn't be until the 3rd night before I finally began to understand why people walked outside. We'd been forced to sleep through the light of day, only to be left without any source of light during the night. Having nothing else to do, we could only listen to the crying man. His sobs that had started out as panic-inducing noises had somehow turned sympathetic, the emotion resembling a twisted version of Stockholm Syndrome. Oh my god. Guys, if anyone tells you you are experiencing Stockholm Syndrome here, they are right. That said, you're having a fun time here, so just ignore it, okay? Good. I wanted so desperately to go out and meet the man, but I couldn't leave my family behind. Maybe he really does need our help, Joanna suggested. I think it's time to go outside. Her words were so void of emotion. Oh shit, my bad. I didn't read that until after. Maybe he really does need help, Joanna suggested. I think it's time to go outside. Her words were so void of emotion, monotonous and cold. She stood up to leave, but I grabbed her before she could even approach the door. The shock seemed to briefly bring her back to reality. Think about the kids, I begged her. They need us. Oh my god. Hi, Coyote. My throat hurts a little. Yeah, I really need to take a break. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with it. You'll see a doctor. I know. I don't understand what I was even thinking. I wasn't myself, she cried. But her brief lucidity wouldn't last, because as I packed away the leftovers from the previous night, I heard the front door unlock. The kids had already fallen asleep, and I knew I was about to follow suit. Still, I rushed over, only to see my wife getting ready to leave. I'm sorry, were the last words she spoke to me before she left the house. Darkness would cover my eyes before I got a chance to react. The sickening laughter would be the only sound that accompanied me as I fell into a forced slumber. By the time I awoke, Joanna was just gone. The only trace of her existence was a trail of coagulated blood glistening in the light from the streetlights leading up to the man. I didn't even have to call out for her. I knew she was dead. Which brings us to now. 4 days have passed since the crying man first appeared on our street. We have enough food to last about another week, but I fear we'll be long gone before then. I see most of my neighbors meet their demise, and the only facts keeping me from doing the same are my kids, but they too have expressed a desire to go outside. I don't know how long I can keep them safe. I'm documenting this as my last words before we depart this world. I've used an almost empty power bank to write this message. I don't really have any signal, but I'm hoping that it somehow gets through. People need to know what happened here. If you are reading this, please send hope. I don't know how long I can keep resisting the cries. Oh, there's a link. What is the link? Oh. The link is to their Facebook. And that's the end of the story. How Brandon's giving me Stockholm Syndrome. Hey! What did I say? You're gonna have Stockholm Syndrome and you're gonna like it! God damn! Hi Colossus, what's up? Well, you know what would be a really, really scary story? If something was posted on the No Sleep subreddit, but it was actually like real. And then people found that out. Do you have a gun in the house? Try shooting the crying dude. Yeah, how come no one tried to shoot him? I wonder if they just get too hypnotized and they can't. Oh. Escape out the back and head the other direction. This is exactly what I was thinking. Just go out the back door and head as far away from the neighborhood as possible. Somehow I feel like that wouldn't work. The crying man isn't human, so what if every time someone steps aside, whether it's in his vision or not, he knows that someone has left? Good sparring. How do you like it here? Take some alcohol and a rag lighted on fire and throw the Molotov at him. Yeah, I was thinking that too at the beginning. What if there was someone suffering from severe insomnia and their mental was going downhill, and then this actually helped them? And like gave them the reset they needed? How mad would you be? Like, you have severe insomnia, right? You can barely sleep. You go days without sleeping. This dude comes, and then you can suddenly get like 8 hours of sleep, or like you're sleeping 24 hours, right? And your mental goes up, and then you realize that you're in the situation, like, goes all the way back down. We have Lima syndrome instead, which is when the kidnapper develops affection for the kidnapper develops affection for the victim. You guys are nothing but worms to me. Interesting. Uh-huh. I wonder what, you know, these people that write the scary stories and the creepypastas and stuff? I wonder what they're thinking for endings. Like, what are they thinking is the actual reason behind these? For some reason I can't sleep in my bed. It feels too uncomfortable. Maybe you need a new mattress. Are we cute worms? What kind of worm? There was this really horrifying worm that I saw. Hold on. I guess if I had to choose... If I really had to choose, this is difficult for me. I think it's kind of like this. Sort of. This is the vibe I get. I think you guys are a little bit uglier. But it's very close. You know, it's doing its best. It's cute. You know, I think a lot of ugly things are cute, but some of these, I really have to disagree with you. Okay, what do you guys think of this? This showed up when I looked for worm. Oh, that's me. There you go. What do you think of this? Have you guys been practicing your oral hygiene? It looks like this guy has. Oh, wait, actually no, he hasn't been properly brushing the bottom teeth. I don't know what this is. Elder worm with many teeth eating young children, gritty. Oh, is this AI? What the fuck? No, I remember there's like this really creepy worm. I don't remember what it was. But, do you guys know that girl, Lizzie or whatever? I think she does collabs with Casual Geographic. I don't remember. But yeah. Alrighty. Okay. I am gonna raid my waifu salmon. So guys, make sure to be nice, behave. Also, make sure to turn on your notification bells for the what do you call it? For the idol cover that's coming out this coming week. It'll be November 4th it comes out. Are you guys excited? Did you guys already watch the preview for it? The waiting room is up. Yes, my cover with Non. Yeah. I'll copy paste it for ya. Alright, we were working on it for a long time, but then a bunch of fucking delays happened. Alright, I'm glad you guys are excited for it. I'm a skedaddle. Alrighty. Have a good rest of your night. Let me say thank you real quick. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Thank you, Volts. Thank you, Doggo. Thank you, Crispy. Thank you, Venerate. Thank you, Parker. Thank you, Raykuma. Thank you, Skin. Thank you, Dolong. Thank you, Rabbit. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Soda. Thank you, Wiz. Thank you, Fires. And thank you, Phone Ring. Alright, I'm out of here, bitches.